bit hot in here, but anyways. Hi fellow readers! Hi my darlings! Welcome to all on my channel, whether you are back or you just found this account. Once again, this kind of video, booktubers tend to make them at the beginning or rather the end of the month. I do it more now that we are in the middle of the second week of the month, because I try to alternate my video contents every 4 weeks, while I promised to only post on Sundays. So here goes the fact that it's not always exactly at the beginning of the month. Let me start with the summary of what I have read since the last video of June until today, that is July the 11th. So the very day after this June video was filmed, at least, I tried to get into the second volume of Sherlock Holmes, The Sign of Four by Arthur Conan Doyle. This one was going to be longer than the previous one, and when I saw the rest on my TBR, I realized that I was not that motivated to read this sequel, and that it was not because I absolutely wanted to have all the culture and knowledge behind those English classics when I was in middle schools and actually download them on my Kindle, that I had to read them all now and force it onto myself. I DNF'd this reading after 63 pages and removed this entire series from my digital TBR. I read the first volume and I guess that was enough for me. It's nuts, but I definitely ain't a detective story kind of girl. So moving on, it changed my process quite a bit for what would follow in the month. Not only do I have more time actually to read, but I'm literally devouring hundreds of pages a day now. So I'm truly getting myself immersed in that experience of rediscovering my love for reading, and I guess it's a slay and good for me, good timing. So then I read I Believe in a Thing Called Love by Maureen Gu. It's 305 pages long, and I read it from June the 16th to the 19th. A bit like To All the Boys I've Loved before. This is like the Netflix rom-com. It has a car drama inspiration, and it is quite an innocent romance. I talked about it in my previous video why it caught my interest, and the thing is, lucky me, I did not read it when it was out in 2017, just because apparently I would have not get as many references as I do now, because I do watch K-dramas since the lockdown in 2020. Not that many, I'm not an expert, I'm not vibing with all of them because sometimes it's just too gooey for me, but I still got some references that there is a common like sort of play and plot points in the K-dramas, no matter what the series is about. I love the fact that she used them all, and it was a twisted plan to kind of follow every steps of a K-drama to get herself a boyfriend, because she apparently sucks at flirting and getting boys to want to be her girlfriend, even though like she's not that ugly, she's quite smart, she's a sporty kind of girl. She succeeds in everything but romance, because there's no practice, there's no steps for her, and once she figured out those steps for herself through that K-dramas, she sets her sights on the new guy that is kind of artsy. She tries to get closer to him by using all of these, and may she succeed? It's for you to find out. So I gave it 4 stars on Goodreads. Because it was kind of cool, but it's like I've grown a bit, so maybe it's too innocent for me now, those kind of love stories. And also because there was not like a huge plot twist, since we follow already everything from her point of view. I liked the funny, how cringy it was at first that she couldn't handle the flirt part. I liked the fact that I did feel some kind of chemistry between the 2 main characters, even though I would have preferred that she wouldn't set a sight on someone for him to be the main character, because if it was someone that we did not expect, that we would have fallen in love with her, no matter the fact that she was kind of bad at flirting. And I mean, in mind I have her best friend, who she describes many times as a hot and interested woman. I guess I just forgot about that plot point pretty fast, because I did like the relationship she was building with that new boy there in high school. What I didn't like is kind of like the 3rd part of the book, where there is a breakup kind of point, and it's quite dramatic, and the resolution of it is not what I would have liked it to be. I think there's a forgiveness given way too fast, and not as developed as I would have liked, even though it's 300 pages long. I guess maybe a few more pages would have been good. Anyway, then I read Yes I Do. I remind you, this is a title I translated because I did not believe it was out in other than in French version. Otherwise, I did not find the original English speaking title. So yeah, I'm sorry. It is written by Phoebe P. Campbell, and I read it on June the 19th. Although I did not read all the mini volumes right after the others. The 4th I read on June 5, the 5th on July the 1st, the 6th on July the 6th, and they are all published in, I believe, 2015 was the last one, and they're about 60 pages long. Even the ending actually didn't transcend me any more than what a typical cliche, stereotypical, not that deep story, love romance between a rich guy and a kind of artsy girl usually does. I really didn't get hooked on this character. It's too bad, because there was potential. It was not that bad. But I was like, meh, I guess I've seen this before, and nothing special actually happens. Even the like cliffhangers didn't stick out to me. But I felt good while reading it. It was easy to read. I talked about it in the previous video, and I will tell you more about the story to avoid like spoilers. Just a little warning. In every little volume of 60 pages each, there's like at some point there's a sexy scene between the two characters, and though it was kind of hard, the build up in the first few volumes, achieving the half of it, it was like, yeah, it's random, it's happening, it's there in a couple. That's a little bit of PDA, I guess. Like, I'm just, yeah, well, good for you. I'm not feeling like it's any more surprising now or any more entertaining. So yeah, I get it 3 stars. So I also continued Bliss in many volumes, intercepted by 2 romance, each time 2 new novels. And then I go back to Yes I Do and Bliss, and once I was done with Yes I Do, just Bliss. So I read the 3rd on June the 19th as well, with around 75 pages. The fourth one I read on June the 23rd. The fifth one I read on June the 26th. And the sixth volume I read on July the 1st. The seventh volume I read on July the 5th. And I guess I will soon enough read the 8th volume, just because I didn't want, at some point I spaced out a little bit more books between each mini volumes, because it's not that special as a story, and I'm not like very hasty to go back to it. I'm just like, oh, I'm trying to take my time to finish this, because I will enjoy it lightly, not that much. And it is written by the duo of writers Emma Green, under the name of Emma Green, under the pen name of Emma Green. And I like this story. It is quite average though. Both of the group of friends and the situation sometimes makes me laugh, but other times annoys me. And her decision for the main female character protagonists are not that entertaining and just kind of desperate actually at times, and the male character remains a fucking cliche that acts as if the girl Emma Green is like unique and so special and precious. And although I see that she has actually zero embarrassment, she's quite direct and funny, she remains not very interesting actually, and she kind of looks for drama where there is no reason to be. And at times I do think she makes it a bit much about her. I mean, she's the main character, but still, like, you're crying because something is happening in his family. You're not that close to him yet, or to the family yet, to feel that much. I feel like that's, maybe I'm not that empath, but she is too much of an empath suddenly, and it's not realistic with the rest of her traits of character. Yeah, so there isn't a lot of depth in these books. Each volume ends in a kind of cliffhanger, but they are not even that surprising. They do not deserve, you know what I mean. It's not very serious once we move on to the following volumes, and even the book in general is not that serious, and I'm like, is it the time to make jokes? And when they stop making jokes, I'm like, oh, now it's just boring. So there's new characters without great interest that get introduced. Meanwhile, a very good one that was interesting casually disappears, and we don't know much about it. At least the character is questioning it, but you know what I mean. It's like, oh, he had potential, now you're making it the enemy and he goes away. Yeah, and there's no more love triangle at all. Also, what pisses me off the most, and that comes back a lot, is how very negative she is about what she eats. Like, she drinks alcohol, she drinks things that are a bit unhealthy, with a lot of sugar, chocolate and stuff like that are associated with fat people. And she makes a lot of comments on her body and how she is not like an idol. She does not, I don't know how to say it, she's like not a model, and she completely deteriorates her appearance, and she's acting like she's not ugly, but at least not that special. And when the main character, who's her man, gets close to her and act like, yeah, she's the hottest person on earth, I'm like, that's just not believable. Like, I know some people can have complex, but this is just annoying me and pissing me off that much that she always comes back to criticizing her own body. I am here to read a romance. I'm not here to think about body shapes that are not perfect. I mean, nobody is always a model, and she keeps like, she eats, and I'm like, good, a book where you eat is good, and then she eats, but she's like criticizing her body and stuff, and I'm like, well, I already do that in real life. I don't need it in my book. Thank you. So yeah, there's plenty of negative point in the story, and it doesn't matter if things are happening because they keep on happening, and there's stuff that always come back. And I feel like this story will actually never stop. It's like a freaking B series, and I guess I will read it till the end anyway, because I want to see precisely what all of this can lead us to and what is it for, because now that I got myself into it, I want to finish it. I want to, yeah. And I guess that's the reason why I didn't add any stars on any of those volumes on Goodreads, because they all stay kind of 3 stars ish level, because I'm kind of nice actually. Sometimes I'm regretting not to putting it in 2, but since I keep getting interested in this, I must admit it's not that bad, so I'm getting it 3. Yeah. Although I have to admit I did well to give the other 2 authors another chance with other novels, because I then read something that I added to my TBR to see the other kind of what they can do, and it was much better, even if it's still not 5-star material from their pens. Kiss Me If You Can of Emma Green by Emma Green is about 470 pages, and I read it from June the 20 to June the 22. It is about a baker girl, and she is now working with a guy she doesn't like, but he's the cousin of one of her friends. She already met and get along, even though she found him incredibly hot. He became her boss, and he, I guess, is now enjoying very much her being under him in the authority level of work, because he annoys her, but at the same time they get closer and they're like, well, maybe we should do a casual thing, you know, since we are both attracted to each other. And they do like to banter a lot, and that was quite good. The chemistry was good. What I didn't like was the 3rd part of the book, where something dramatic happens and they part ways very angry at each other, or at least sad. And when he's only thinking about maybe giving her a second chance, while she did nothing wrong, she has something that happens and he figures that out, and therefore they stay together. He's like convinced now that he can't let her go. I'm like, I would have liked for him to go look for her and forgive her and give her the shot she deserves before finding out something that would, because it feels almost like it forces them to stay together. Actually it isn't, because they're kind of cute, and I guess the ending was now not that interested, that the drama, it was past and there was just a happy couple. Spoiler alert. But it was still a good read, so I do recommend it. I don't know if that book exists in English version, but if you want to initiate yourself to French, you can. So I put 4 stars on Goodreads, because it was not perfect, but it was much better than this. So yeah. Then I read the 1st volume of the series called Off Campus. That is pretty much very known. The deal was this book. It was 335 pages. I've read it from June the 23 to June the 25th, and it was written by Hal Kennedy, published in 2015 or something like that. And I put right away 5 stars as I finished this book, because I was like, wow, I did not expect that. I was like kind of afraid that it would be like After, because it is a campus romance, young adult with spice, majesty, but I liked it. There's a bit of TWs going, because the female character protagonist was raped, and therefore she has some troubles with approaching guys, and drinking at parties and stuff. And she has this crush on this guy, but she doesn't know how to approach him. And there's this other guy that plays hockey, and he has terrible ratings for one of the schools, well, the uni subject she actually achieved like a chef, and he needs her to tutor him, but she's like, no, I kind of don't want to do that. And he's like, but I'll pay you, I'll do anything, whatever. She's like, no, I ain't got the time, and you can have literally anybody else teaching you. And then he's convincing her that if she does that for him, he will make sure that the guy she's into will notice her by actually pretending to be her date, and therefore making her more hot, more attractive, or something of the kind. And she's like, okay. And therefore they have to get closer. During the tutoring lessons they talk, and also they spend a lot of time together, and at the party where they have to pretend to be together, it's not that uncomfortable. So she's like, oh, it's not that just a sporty brat that is quite dumb. And he's like, oh, she's quite calm and cool to hang out with, and she has a beautiful voice, and I kind of like her. And therefore they start to like each other, but at the same time she's like, but I used to really like this other dude, and I didn't even give him a shot, and you're not the relationship type of guy, so what do we do? Yeah, I liked the chemistry between two, the banter, very much. It was like really, really realistic. I felt the connection between the two. And yeah, I also like the fact that we were already introduced to the other future male characters that would become mains for the rest of the series. Why I wanted to read this series in the first place? Well, I guess in one of the like book selling markets, not markets but more like stores that I went to in France while I was looking for mangas, I actually saw the ad for Briar, the first book. I read the synopsis, I was like, oh, that's quite good and interesting. And then when I read underneath, there was like, it's the spin-off of the series called the Off-Campus series. And I'm like, oh, then if I want to read Briar, I need to read first Off-Campus. That's why I added it to my TBR when I was barely starting it, when I was kind of convincing myself to get back to reading. And I'm glad I did, because it was really good and I like the series. So yeah. Then after I read another volume of Bliss, and yes I do, from the 26th of June and 28th, I read Jennifer Armentrout's Wait For You in French, published in 2013. It is a 430 pages long book, and I put 4 stars on Goodreads for it. I liked this romance. It was quite cute and funny at times, but also there is a part of it that was a bit long, and I guess I didn't like the kind of breakup part in the 3rd act, and yeah, it was a bit heavy. Like it was not on purpose, but this book also talked about sexual assault, and the main character kind of had a much more violent background than the one in Off-Campus, the deal, because this one there's a suicide mention, there's talks about the fact that she was being bullied, cyber bullied, and yeah, that was kind of hard. And she was isolating herself from the rest of the world, from parties, from stuff that normal teens and young adults do. And this guy that she meets quite soon and early on the book is like pretty quickly obsessed with her, and just like he doesn't let her go. He wants to get out with her, so he asks her out, and each time she says no, she's like, why don't you want to go out with me? We don't know each other, but actually her neighbor from door to door in the building. So yeah, they love together, they spend time together, and it's like they're already dating, but she doesn't even realize it. And at some point she gets herself convinced, and at first you may think, oh, that's kind of creepy of him that he's always asking her out even though she said no. But it's like, we know she wants to say yes, she's just like, I don't get out, I don't do stuff because I trust no one. And he's like, I'll make you trust me. I'm a patient guy, I'm prepared to wait. And he does, and that's so cute. So what I didn't like is that she pushed him away at some point when they were getting closer, in a very, not violent, but like abrupt way. And I understood his anger, but it felt like a bit out of character for him not to understand all of a sudden. He was like very annoyed at the fact that she was not sharing his secrets, her secrets. And even though he shared his, because he had some and had a broody past, but not as broody as her. And it was like, I get his frustration, but it's not fair that the resolution of the book is that she felt like so alone that she was like, actually I won't let him go, and I will speak to him even though I kind of don't want to. And that's the only negative. But I quite much liked the chemistry. There was not much banter, but it's like a nice cute romance. It's quite innocent at first, and there's a few scenes that are smutty, but it's not like a high spice level. The reason why I wanted to read this book is because the cover is kind of cute, and I like the name of the series in French, so I've read it in French. I've watched the cover in English, and the title is quite different, but yeah. So all my arguments went to the window. But on Booknote, it's a French like book thingy site. It was recommended in many of the types I like. I still think that would be a great reading for you all. So then I tore down in one day the approximate of 255 pages of the second volume of the Off-Campus series called The Mistake by L. Kennedy on June 29, which I liked a little less, but still a lot. I do not want to put 5 stars though on this reading, but it could have been a 4.5. Too bad it isn't actually possible in the Goodreads sites. So it is about the best friend of the first male character in the first book, and he developed a crush on the female character in the first book, and that's kind of a bit a bit cringy and embarrassing at times, because it's like, I don't wanna come between my boy and his girl. So he's like trying to spend less time with them to not get jealous, and also distract his mind off of it, and he fucks around, drinks a lot. And actually the female character of this book quite saw him at party get out of the bathtub, and kind of she guessed what he did with another girl while he was completely out of it. And she was like, dang, I wish that was me, but not like she wants him, but more like, I'm a virgin at 20 years old, I kind of want things to happen downstairs because I've been trying, but God, I'm so dumb with boys. And out of total hazard, he was trying to avoid once again his best friend and his girl, and he went to a party without having the address, and he made a mistake and went to the wrong apartment, and goes to her apartment, and when he realizes that's not his friends where there was supposed to be a party, he doesn't know how to call him because he doesn't have his number, and he has no way to go back home, that he's off campus. So she proposes for him to stay a little bit to watch the movie she was trying to watch on her own with her, and they get along, and then suddenly they are mouth breathing each other and getting close, and he explodes in her hand, and he asks if she had to, and she's like, oh, I guess I have, because most guys don't like when I say no, he seems tired, so let's stop it here. And then he goes away. She's like, oh really, that's how it's gonna go? Well, that's a disappointment coming from the big guy of the campus, not the most big guy, but one of the big one, the hotly one. And he kind of dwells on that thought for a few days, and he's like, dang, I'm pretty sure she faked it, and I'm pretty sure she thinks I'm a fucker, I'm an idiot and a bastard for going like that after something like this. It was not even my intention to just casually do stuff with a full-on stranger. And so he goes back to her and tries to convince her to actually get her to the final point of the... So yeah, they do it, and actually in those books they are doing a great job at doing it without doing the main course of the meal, you know what I mean? So they do a lot of foreplay, and they do that, and they get along, and he tries to see her, and when people think that she's actually lying about having spent time with him, he like shows her outfit and all, but at the same time in the back of his mind is like, dang, that's kind of bad now, she's maybe gonna get attached to me, and I kind of like her, she's cool, but I am using her as a distraction, aren't I? So yeah, yeah, that's all I gotta say, except that maybe I would have liked it a bit longer for more development of the how she forgave him and how they became a thing, because yeah, a lot happened in a few pages, and I guess I would have liked more steps and more development, but at the same time it felt quite realistic of him not, you know, getting bothered with too many steps and just go ahead and do a thing with this girl that he doesn't hate and thinks she's kind of cool. So since I read that pretty fast, I took a break, like I finished the book super late, so yeah, I kind of needed more to relax that day, and I didn't read, but then I read Bliss, and yes, I do once more. So on July the 1st to the 3rd, I read 445 pages of the second volume of Jennifer L. Armentrout's series, Wait For You, and this second volume is called Be With Me. It is published in 2014. I gave it 4 stars as well, because it had the real potential to be 5 stars, but then something happens where there's a third act breakup that really does come out of nowhere, like suddenly he's like closing off to her, and you're like, come on, everything was kind of going well and smoothly, and we finally did something that we were scared of, and I went well, so why now are you freaking out and pushing me away and then regretting it as soon as it happens? So that kind of felt like a bipolar move, and I didn't like that, because it didn't seem that that mindless guy. He's really quite nice and cute and attentive and protective, but not that much, and he's a nice gentlemanly guy, I would believe, at least with her. And yeah, I didn't like that part, and the resolution of it was really dramatic, but at the same time I love the drama, so you know, like angst. But yeah, so this is like the sister of the male character in the first book, and she has a crush on his best friend, and something happened a few summers ago where they kissed, but he's like, yeah, you need to forget about that, I don't know what overcame for me, you're my brother's little sister, and I don't like you like that, and I got stuff to deal on my own, I don't need, you know, a girlfriend. And she's like, okay, I've got dates, don't worry, it's okay, even though on the inside she's crying. And then he's like, but actually I don't like you, I don't think that's a good idea. And she's like, well, if you like me, fuck my brother and fuck me. And yeah, so that's like, there's stuff in her past that is mentioned in the previous book that doesn't actually quite have an effect on the relationship itself, but it has an effect on the story, because she knows how to recognize when someone has been abused, and she suspects her roommate being abused by her boyfriend. And at some point this roommate's boyfriend is stepping over the line with her, and that adds drama to the story, because of course the male character of the book is like, you ain't doing that to my girl, and is acting like more than a friend of her brother. So yeah, I kind of like this storyline of the best friend's brother, and it's like an impossible love story, a secret hidden relationship, and smutty scenes, and like this is like such a good vibe. There was the addition of the fact that it was some sort of cowboy. Yeah, teen dramas, but young adults. And then I read over 2 days the 3rd volume of L. Kennedy's Off-Campus series, published in 2016, I believe. That is called The Score, from July the 3rd to the 4th, 350 pages long. I gave it as well 4 stars, because it was not that amazing at first, but then it kind of went better and better, because there was an omitted scene that is clearly smutty and essential for the rest of the storyline. But it's not even under the excuse that both of them don't remember it because they drank too much, but actually they do remember it, and that's the reason why they can't ignore each other for the following days. And they're like, do you want to do it again? And she's like, not really, I just got out of a relationship that was like on and off for a few years, but I need to be really off this time. And he's like, yeah, well, good for me, you know, we can be casual thingy. And she's like, I'm more of a wrestler, I don't like do casual sex, she's like, good with me. And yeah, so at some point they do become sex friends and hide it from their friends of good, because she is the roommate of the first female character of the first book, and he's one of the roomies of the Oki team that shares the off-campus apartment building, house, whatever. So yeah, he's like the player of the group, is known to have a girl a day and never fuck twice the same girl, but he changes his mind with her because she is really kinky, and it's like, holy, I did not expect that from someone that is in a relationship. You mean you, boy, you could do that plenty of times with you, and you were always like this? And in her mind it's like, actually not, because he was embarrassed of my kinks, and you're like such a perv, you actually like those kinks and I like your kinks. I need to get that out of my mind. That doesn't mean that if we are sex compatible, we are relationship compatible. You don't even want relationships, you don't know what that means, but actually I do. I just had a terrible one when I was in high school and thought that, hey, why try when I was in college? And yeah, so I kind of liked getting to know that it wasn't like dramatic things that happened to them, but there are reasons to why they do not think they're compatible, and once they are cute with each other, once they notice that, yeah, this isn't just sex actually between the two of them, it's kind of great, and I like it. Yeah, it was a hidden kind of romance and very smart. I did not like some point of the book where he was very depressed and she waited a long time for him to not be depressed, and he did a mistake while he was in this depressed state that really disappointed her, and she was like, yeah, we need to break it off. And he's like, well, wow, now that snapped me out of my depression and I need to win her back. And she's like, actually, I've never been alone by myself, I need time by myself. And we kind of went over that because I don't see what she really gained from it. I mean, I understand the self-love thing, I'm like all for it, go girl. But I'm like, do we really see what changed after that? I mean, maybe it gave him the time to think and to learn his lesson. I don't know. So it was not perfect, but it was quite good and entertaining and easy to read and hot. So I mean, what's wrong with that? Once more, after I read Bliss and the Phoebe P. Campbell book from July the 6th to the 8th, I read in 2 days the 440 pages long book that is called from the French Wattpad with my own translation because it doesn't exist in English version. The Bet, My Boss, That Hassle, or That Bastard, I don't know, it depends on what you prefer in English as an insult, by Julie Boutin, published in 2022. I gave it 4 stars because at least it was entertaining and easy to read and quite funny at times. Very funny, it was always funny, and at times I was like, oh come on, stop the funniness and come serious and try to get close to that guy. And yeah, well, and with the guy, he's like very grumpy and very like always mean kind of to her, and she's mean to him back, and it's like there's not much of an evolution through the books. And at least at like 60% of the book, nothing still happened physically between the two of them, and I was like, oh, is it going to be one of those books where you actually wait till the last pages for something to happen and then the rest of the story will pick up from it on the following books? Yeah, it was. And at times it was too much of like rom-com shit coming, because she was always like bugging her roommates, and at some point I even started to ship her with her roommate more than with her boss, even though that's the title of the book, so therefore it was clearly an employee and boss situation that was going to happen. But yeah, actually we like to, you know, take our time. It's a really like slow burn, and the few times you are in the narrative of the man, you see how he's like, it's like in denial, like for real, like it's really until the very end of it, like, oh, she's such an annoying person, I wanna kill her sometimes, she's too much for me, how can she be such a bother, and how could someone behave that way, and she really does not learn her lesson, really, what could be so attractive about her, she's driving me nuts. And in this very in denial statements, you see that she is getting under his skin, and we don't see that much with her. She's really like, oh, you're such a bother. And then there's a few glimpses of time where they could get along, they could, like, instead of just banter meaningly, actually banter friendly. And she's like, is it starting to warm up to me? I'm not sure I believe in that. And then there's the point where she learns something from him, and she's really, there's a climax coming at very end where she's like really pissed off at him. She's not doing that for fun, she's not doing that to get herself some distraction or whatever from her boring work. She's really like, oh yeah, now you've crossed the line, and she's really pissed. And he's like, I don't like that she's really pissed, and at the same time I'm like, fuck off. And then there's the thing that happened that you were like, oh, I waited a whole book for that, and yeah, then it's over. So that's frustrating, but it's a slow burn, I guess, so I'm not fully hating on it. I just wished for 440 pages long, that was a bit too long, that there was a lot less redundant happenings, like the fact that she never wakes up at time, that her roommates are always making some little pranks to her, the fact that at times I knew there was some part of it that served the plot, so good, but at times it was just like filler chapters, and I was like, I'm not sure I like that. So yeah, I also like that there was a bit of side romances between one of her roommate characters, but it was like such little details on them that yeah, it was not enough to just strike me for the weight I had to endure for something to happen between her and her boss. the reason why I still wanted to read this book in the first place was, well, first off, because the title was clearly clear to me what kind of trope we were gonna dive in, and I was into that trope, so I wanted that too. I wanted to read that, and there's a purple cover which I liked, and it was in the comments mentioned as very hilarious, and I was like, oh, I don't mind reading a hilarious book as long as there's some romance in it. And the romance in it is not enough for me. That's why I'm gonna read the second book, because now that things have happened, I'm like, yeah, give me the tea, please, Julie. That will be all for my done readings. Right now, I am reading Stay With Me, the third book in Jennifer R. Almond's series. It is a 540 pages long book. Writer, I already knew her from the Lux series, and that is like a romance with like some sort of aliens, and I really enjoyed that when I was in middle school, and I knew she was good with her writing and her romance and supernatural themed books, so I was like, maybe in YA and contemporary books she can still like nail it. This one was published in 2014, I believe, and it is about the friend of the second female main in the second book. And she has scars and a dark past and secrets about her family, and now it's the summer, she has no money, she has to go back to her small town birthplace, and she went to search for her mother, who actually took all of her money and savings, and she is nowhere to be found, and she goes to the bar she used to own, and there she meets this barman that is really hot and quite direct with flirting on and asking her out, and she's like, whoa, why do you do this? Is this a joke? Look at me, I'm freaking Frankenstein. She really does hate her body and what she has with the scars. Never kissed, she never had relationships because of that, and he frankly acts as if she is the hottest person on earth, which is really cool. But at the same time, the beginning of the book was weird because it was really like such protective character and already like using a bit of authority on her when she was putting herself in danger. I mean, anyone would want to protect with a good heart an innocent person, but he's like really acting as if like he had already the status of boyfriend, and she's like, I don't know you, you don't have to like order me around. And then they work together because she's like, well, might as well work here to earn money while my mom will make it back, and I'm trying to figure out what mess she left here. And he's protecting her from like the threats that comes from what her mother's frequentation have done, and he's like getting close to her, and there's the one bed drop and stuff like that, and she sees that he's got the past too, and he's quite understanding and patient with her, but still quite flirtatious. And at some point she's like, but I'm ugly, and he's like, no you're not, and she's like, but I've got scars. He's like, I barely noticed them, and even if they are, that doesn't mean you're ugly. And she's like, but dang, no one ever said that to me. So yeah, that was, I'm at the part where it's finally starting to feel like there's actual chemistry between them, and I like that. It's getting better and better. So what's weird is that we get out of the campus zone, and it's not just a romance between like students in a campus. It's suddenly like there's threats, there's like a drug system going on and addictions, and it's a bit much darker. I mean, both the female main characters of the previous books were having a dark past, but this one, it's like she's in the dark times right now, so that's a bit more heavy to read. I pity the main character, and at the same time I'm like, stop playing them. He likes to enjoy it. Do not waste any more opportunity, girl. So I think I've finished this book maximum on the 13th, so yeah, I'm already at a bit more of the half of the book. For the rest of my July TBR, when this video will be posted, normally I would be reading Off Campus, the fourth one, called The Goal by L. Kennedy. It will be around 340 pages long, and I believe it is about the fourth roommate, and because he made a big reveal at the end of the third book, I don't know if it will follow up that reveal or just explain how he came to reveal that to his friends. And I would have read before the 70-ish pages of the 8th mini volume of Bliss by Emma Green. I will also read A Wish for Us by Tilly Cole after the video is published, but it will be a 355 pages long story. It was published in 2018, and I want to read it because it has a nice French cover with nice purples, and the title means like going more up and up in music, and I believe it is about music and romance. That's pretty clear. And I don't know if I saw that on Instagram or if I saw that in some sort of supermarket with like shelves for new releases, but this one I was like, oh, I mean, I could add it to my TBR pretty soon when I was barely starting it a year or so ago. And I don't know what it's going to be about precisely. I don't want to see synopsis to avoid giving me expectations and then disappointments. So I will let myself be surprised. I'm sorry, I will not tell you more about this. Maybe the next video like this one I will, because I will have read it. Also, I intend to read the successful BookTube Bookstagram Book Talk work of the year that is published in 2017 but was actually like really blowing out in 2020-ish, 21. I'm speaking about The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and it is 480 pages long. I find the title really intriguing because I'm like, ooh, then that means there will be a lot of romances, but also divorces and I guess drama, like grief maybe, because that's a lot of numbers of him for husbands. I believed, according to the recommendations, that it was quite a touching story, that she was a badass female lead, and there is a side of LGBT somewhat romance, so I don't know if that's like the interviewer or her herself. I know that she is a fake celebrity because she's a fiction character, and she's getting interviewed about her life, and therefore she explains why and how all of her love stories happened to the interviewer. So I don't know if it is written only in dialogues, but that surprises me, and I think that's kind of a new and I never read that kind of books before, so it's original. I am intrigued. I don't want the hype of the book to actually lead me on and be disappointed, but yeah, I'm quite curious to see what it's about. I would also read the fourth volume of the Jennifer L. Armentrout Wait For You series, and this one is called Fall With Me. Okay, so Fall With Me, it will be 380 pages long, and before moving on to August, I think I will have time to start barely reading a French romance, which has done well according to Instagram and Booknote, that is another French site, kind of like Goodreads for books. And personally, I translated the title as The Haste of the Art by Morgane Moncomble, and it is about 415 pages long. So yeah, I hope I could squeeze it till the 31st of July, but I believe it will like be a bit longer than that. Maybe I will actually read like a fucking Flash McQueen this summer, but yeah, I already have a lot of readings done, and to do, so I'm not like stressing myself out. I'm just really enjoying my readings. So well, it was a little long video since this half month of June and the beginning of July being finally on summer vacation. I'm taking full advantage with the 20 books finished in June and the 15 little bigger ones planned for July. I'm talking to you in this video of only 12 in finished ones and 5 to go. That's quite a schedule, and I hope I didn't lose you. I know that's a lot, not everybody's like reading that much, but some are reading like way more in a month. So I'm just proud of myself because like dang, that was an evolution for me. Yeah, I'm not going to chat all the more, otherwise I'm going to lose you for good on my timelines and projects. And I hope, like me, you like take advantage of this summer, take your time and actually enjoy and go back to reading that much more, or at least reading period, because I would like to think that now we have more time to throw ourselves more in our plans, TBR and books. And even if you are working during the summer, I wish you good luck first of all, and I think that it's a good way to like relax and separate work from house timing or whatever timing you have to read. So I will post the same style of video containing a review of my readings plus the coming TBR for the month. Surely on Sunday, the 13th of August. Even though it will be harder, but I will try to continue my filming, publishing and editing, the hardest parts of videos, despite the fact that I will be on holidays and on a whole other country actually. But maybe with my 4G and my phone we will make this work, I hope. No promises though. On this very last note, I'll go back to my Kindle. I hope you'll get good readings, and all I have to say left is see you next time. Okay, bye bye.